say memories are priceless. But what happens when your only memory of love must be given away to save a stranger? Amaka sat quietly in her small, dimly lit room, her fingers gently caressing the worn leather strap of an old wristwatch. The glass face was cracked, the gold was faded, but to her it shone brighter than any jewel. It was her late husband's watch, the last thing he left behind before death took him away like a thief in the night. Life hadn't been kind to Amaka. After her husband died in a terrible accident, the world seemed to close in around her. She had no children, no family, and no job. Every day she sold roasted plantains by the roadside just to survive. She had once been the wife of a proud man, living a quiet, happy life. Now she was a poor widow with nothing but pain in her heart, and this one piece of her husband, his watch. One hot afternoon, as the sun scorched the earth and the dust rose with each step, Amaka sat at her usual spot by the roadside, fanning herself with an old piece of cardboard. Her plantains were barely selling. People walked by without looking. Hunger twisted in her stomach, but she was used to it. That's when she saw him. A boy no older than 12, with torn clothes and bare feet, stood a few meters away, staring at her plantains. His eyes were wide, his lips dry. He didn't beg, but the hunger in his eyes screamed louder than any words. Amaka looked at him for a moment, her heart aching. She had seen many hungry faces, but something about this boy pulled at her soul. "Come here, my child," she called softly. The boy hesitated, then stepped forward slowly. "What's your name?" she asked. "Daniel," he whispered, his voice barely there. "When last did you eat?" Daniel looked away, ashamed. "2 days," he muttered. Amaka sighed deeply. She picked the largest plantain from her tray, broke it in half and gave it to him. He grabbed it with shaking hands and ate like he hadn't seen food in weeks. As he ate, she asked, "Where are your parents?" "My mother died last year. My father is sick. He can't walk anymore. I try to find food for us, but..." His voice broke. Tears welled up in Amaka's eyes. She had nothing, yet here was this boy, with even less. When he finished eating, he looked at her gratefully. "Thank you, Mama. I wish I could pay you." She smiled faintly. "You don't owe me anything, child." But as he turned to leave, her heart burned. Something inside her refused to let him go empty-handed. She knew the streets, knew the danger, knew hunger was a thief that could steal his young life. She reached into her bag and pulled out the old watch. "Wait," she called. He turned. She stood, walked to him, and placed the watch gently in his hand. "This belonged to my husband. It's all I have left of him, but I want you to take it." Daniel stared in shock. "Mama, I can't take this." "You must," she said, her voice firm but kind. "Sell it, buy food, medicine, whatever you need. But promise me, when you grow, you will never forget kindness." Tears rolled down Daniel's cheeks. He held the watch to his chest and nodded. "I promise, Mama. I will never forget you." He ran off, the watch clutched tightly, as if it were life itself. Amaka sat back down, her heart heavy but strangely at peace. She had lost her husband's memory, but maybe, just maybe, she had saved a life. What she didn't know was that this one act would change her destiny forever. The days after Amaka gave Daniel the watch were hard, harder than she ever imagined. The little money she had saved from her plantain stall was gone within days. Customers were fewer, and her energy to shout, "Hot plantain here," faded like the sun at dusk. Each night she sat on her bamboo mat, staring at the empty corner where her husband's watch used to sit. Some nights, she questioned herself, "Why did I give it away? What if I need it now?" But each time a small voice in her heart answered, "Because it was right." A week passed, then 2. The small shack she called home grew colder, emptier. The landlord, a fat man with a voice like thunder and a heart like ice, came knocking. "Amaka!" he shouted, banging the door. "Your rent is due. 2 months now, no pay." Amaka opened the door slowly, her hands trembling. "Please, landlord, give me 1 more week. I will pay. I just need to sell more." The man laughed. "Sell what? Your stall is empty. Your plantains are rotten. You think I run charity? Please, I will find a way. No more time. You have until tomorrow, or you and your rubbish are out." He walked away, his laughter echoing through the narrow street. Amaka sat down, burying her face in her hands. She had given away her last treasure, and now she had nothing. Meanwhile, Daniel's life was no paradise. He had run home with the watch, breathless, full of hope. His father lay on the mat, coughing, his eyes sunken. "Papa, look!" Daniel cried, showing him the watch. "A kind woman gave me this. I can sell it, buy medicine, food." His father stared at it, tears in his tired eyes. "God bless her," he whispered. Daniel sold the watch the next day for just enough to buy rice and herbs for his father's sickness. It wasn't much, but for a few days, they ate. For a few nights, they slept with full bellies. But money doesn't last. Soon the hunger returned. His father grew weaker. Daniel tried to find work, but no one hired a boy. He begged, he struggled, but every night his promise to the woman haunted him. Be serious and never forget kindness. Back to Amaka. Morning came like a curse. The landlord didn't wait for the sun to rise fully. He returned with 2 men, rough and angry. "I warned you, woman. Pack your things. Please, just one more day." Amaka begged. They didn't listen. They threw her few clothes outside. Her small cooking pot hit the ground with a loud clang. Neighbors watched from behind half-closed doors, whispering, pitying. Amaka stood there, her heart shattered. Her home was gone. Her stall was empty. And now even the street seemed to reject her. She walked aimlessly, carrying her bundle. No place to go, no one to help. The sun was merciless. Her feet dragged through the dust. She thought of Daniel. "I hope he's alive." As the day faded, Amaka found herself near a small abandoned shop. The door was broken, but it gave her shelter from the wind. She sat there alone, hugging herself. Her stomach growled, but she had no strength to move. Her eyes filled with tears. "God," she whispered, "I gave all I had. Why does it feel like I have nothing left?" In another part of town, Daniel faced his own test. His father's cough worsened. One night, as Daniel held his father's hand, he heard the words he feared most. "My son, I may not wake tomorrow. Promise me you will survive." "No, Papa, you will live. I will find help." But by morning, his father's hand was cold. Daniel was alone. Back to Amaka. That night, she lay on the cold shop floor, her eyes open, staring at the darkness. A memory of her husband's voice echoed in her heart. "Love is not what you say, it's what you give." She had given all, but she didn't know that her story was not ending. It was just about to change. The sun rose slowly over the city, casting long golden shadows across the streets that had once felt like home to Amaka. But today, she didn't feel at home anywhere. She sat outside the abandoned shop, dust clinging to her clothes, her stomach tight with hunger. People passed her by, some with curious eyes, others with pity, but no one stopped. Amaka wasn't surprised. She knew this world. She knew how people looked away when they didn't want to carry your burden. But today, something was different. A soft voice broke through the morning noise. "Madam, are you okay?" Amaka looked up slowly. A young woman, no older than 20, stood there holding a basket of bread. Her face was kind, her eyes full of concern. I haven't eaten," Amaka whispered. Without a word, the girl handed her a piece of bread and a bottle of water. Amaka took it with trembling hands. "Thank you," she said, tears welling up. The girl nodded. "My name is Kemi. I live nearby. If you need a place to rest, come with me." Amaka hesitated. She had trusted before, and look where it got her. But something in Kemi's voice, something in her eyes felt real. "Okay," Amaka whispered. Kemi led her to a small room at the back of a compound. It was simple but clean. A mat on the floor, a small stove, and a few clothes hanging by the wall. "You can stay here for now," Kemi said, smiling. "It's not much, but it's safe." Amaka sat down, overwhelmed. "Why are you helping me?" she asked softly. Kemi sat beside her. "Because someone once helped me. I was lost, alone, hungry. But a woman took me in, fed me, gave me hope. I never forgot that." Amaka nodded slowly. Her heart, which had felt like stone, softened. Meanwhile, Daniel's world was falling apart. With his father gone, Daniel had no choice but to leave the small room they called home. The landlord didn't even give him time to grieve. Within hours, he was out on the street. For days, he wandered, sleeping under bridges, begging for food. But Daniel wasn't just surviving. He was remembering. Be serious in life. Never forget kindness. The woman's words played in his mind like a song he couldn't turn off. One night, as he sat near a market, hungry and tired, he overheard two men talking. "That factory is hiring boys like him," one man said, pointing at Daniel. Daniel's ears perked up. "What factory?" he asked, standing. The man laughed. "You want to work? Go to the next street. They need strong hands. Pay is small, but it's better than begging." Daniel didn't wait. He ran. Back with Amaka, life was still hard, but now there was hope. Kemi shared what little she had. Together they sold bread in the market, earning just enough for food. One evening, as they sat outside, Amaka spoke. "I used to sell plantains. I had a small stall." "What happened?" Kemi asked. Amaka sighed. "I gave away everything, even my husband's watch. I thought I was helping, but it feels like I only lost." Kemi touched her hand. "You didn't lose. You gave love, and love always comes back." Amaka smiled faintly. She wanted to believe that. Daniel found the factory. The work was hard, lifting, carrying, sweating under the hot sun. But he didn't complain. For the first time, he had purpose. He saved every coin, ate the smallest meals, and each night he looked at the stars and whispered, "I will find her. I will thank her." Months passed. Daniel grew stronger, older, wiser. The factory boss noticed his hard work. "You have something in you, boy," the boss said one day. "Keep it up, and you won't be carrying sacks forever." Daniel nodded. "Thank you, sir. I just want to make something of myself." Back in the small room, Amaka fell sick. The cough came first, then the fever. Kemi tried her best, but medicine was expensive. Amaka lay on the mat, sweating, her breath shallow. "Kemi, if anything happens to me—" "No, Mama Amaka," Kemi interrupted. "You will live. You must live. God didn't bring you this far to leave you here." But inside, Kemi was scared. She didn't want to lose the woman who had become like a mother. Daniel's life was changing fast. The factory promoted him to supervisor. With his first real salary, he bought new clothes and a small phone. One evening, scrolling through old numbers, he paused. He remembered. The woman. The watch. He stood up suddenly. "I have to find her," he said aloud. "I promised." Daniel couldn't shake the feeling. It had been years, but the promise he made still burned in his chest like it was yesterday. That woman, that poor widow who gave him her husband's watch. He had to find her. He sat on his small bed, the factory noises still ringing in his ears, but his mind was far away. His fingers tapped restlessly on his phone. Where do I start? How do I find someone I only met once? Then he remembered. The street, the plantain stall, the way the sunlight hit her face when she smiled and said, "Promise me you'll never forget kindness." He stood up. He had saved enough money now. It wasn't much, but it was enough to take a few days off, travel back to that place, and search. Meanwhile, Amaka was fading. Kemi tried everything. Herbal teas, cold cloths, prayers whispered late into the night. But Amaka's strength was leaving her. Her eyes were dim, her voice a whisper. "Kemi," she said weakly, "promise me. You'll keep going, even if—" "No, Mama Amaka, don't say that," Kemi cried. "You'll get better. I'll find medicine. I'll get help." Amaka smiled faintly. "I'm tired, my child, but if I could just see that boy one more time." Tears streamed down Kemi's face. She had no idea who this boy was, or if he even existed anymore. Daniel returned to the old town, but the streets were different now. The place where the plantain stalls once stood was gone, replaced by new buildings, new shops. He asked everyone he could find, "Do you know a woman named Amaka? She used to sell plantains here." Some shook their heads. Others didn't even stop to listen. Hours passed. Daniel sat on a bench, defeated. "Is this it?" he thought. "Have I lost her forever?" Just as he was about to give up, an old man sat beside him. "You look troubled, boy," the man said. Daniel nodded. I'm looking for someone. She helped me once, years ago. I owe her everything. The man looked thoughtful. What's her name? Amaka, Daniel replied. The man's eyes lit up slightly. There was a woman by that name, a widow, sold plantains just down this road, but she left long ago. Daniel's heart skipped. Where did she go? No one knows. The landlord chased her out. Poor thing. Last I heard, she was sick. Some say she found shelter with a young girl, Kemi, near the next town. Daniel stood up quickly. Where? Please, sir, tell me. Kemi sat by Amaka's side, holding her hand. She hadn't eaten in 2 days, spending every coin on herbs and medicine. Please, God, she whispered, don't take her yet. Suddenly, there was a knock at the door. She wiped her tears and stood. Who is it? A voice replied, breathless, hopeful. I'm looking for Kemi, for Amaka. Her heart jumped. She opened the door slowly. A young man stood there, sweat on his brow, his eyes wide with something between fear and hope. I think I know her. Please, is she here? Kemi stepped back. Daniel rushed in, his eyes landing on the frail figure on the mat. He knelt beside her. Mama Amaka, it's me, Daniel. Amaka's eyes fluttered open, weak, confused. Daniel? She whispered. Yes, Mama. I found you. You gave me your husband's watch. You saved me. Her lips trembled. A tear slid down her cheek. You came back? I promised, Daniel said, holding her hand tightly. And I'm not leaving you again. For the first time in weeks, Amaka smiled. Her chest felt lighter. Kemi watched in silence, tears of relief streaming down her face. Daniel turned to her. I will take care of her now, both of you. That night, hope returned. Daniel called a doctor, paid for proper treatment, bought food, clothes, everything they needed. He had finally fulfilled his promise. But more than that, he had found something even greater, a family. The morning sun shone softly through the small window, casting a golden light on Amaka's face. For the first time in weeks, her eyes opened with strength, not weakness. She turned her head slowly. Daniel was there, sitting in the corner of the room, his head resting on the wall, eyes closed in sleep. Kemi sat beside her, smiling gently. You're awake, Kemi whispered, her voice trembling with relief. Amaka nodded. Is he still here? Yes, Kemi replied. He hasn't left your side since he found you. Amaka looked at Daniel, her heart full. God, you kept your word. Later that morning, Daniel woke to find Amaka sitting up, sipping warm tea. He rushed to her side. Mama Amaka, how do you feel? She smiled. Better, my son. Much better. Because of you. Daniel shook his head. No, Mama. It's because of you. You saved me first. They sat together, the air thick with memories. You've grown so much, Amaka said, touching his hand. You're no longer that little boy. And you're no longer alone, Daniel replied. But Daniel had more on his mind. For days he had been thinking, planning. He couldn't just return to his life, leaving Amaka and Kemi in that small broken room. He had to do more. That evening, as they shared a meal, the first real meal in weeks, Daniel spoke. I want both of you to come with me, he said, his voice steady. Amaka looked at him, surprised. Go where? To the city, Daniel replied. To my home. I have a small house, enough for all of us. I want you to live with me, Mama. Kemi, too. You took me in once, now it's my turn. Amaka's eyes filled with tears. I can't ask that of you. You're not asking, Daniel said. I'm giving. You gave me life when I had nothing. Now let me give you peace. Kemi was quiet. She had watched this bond between them grow, stronger than anything she had seen before. She felt something stir in her heart. Hope, belonging, but also fear. What if this was too good to be true? Daniel turned to her. Kemi, you saved Mama Amaka when no one else would. I can't thank you enough. You don't have to, she replied softly. I want you to come too. Start fresh. I've saved some money. We can build a real home. Days passed and Amaka's strength returned. Daniel arranged everything. The move, the house, the comforts they had never known. But as they packed their few belongings, Amaka pulled Daniel aside. "There's something I need to tell you," she said. He nodded, sitting beside her. "The watch, the one I gave you. It wasn't just my husband's last gift. It was also the last thing he touched before he died. I held on to it because it reminded me of his love, his strength." Daniel listened, his heart heavy. "I gave it to you because I saw in you what I saw in him. A good man, full of kindness, even in pain." Tears welled up in his eyes. "You saw that in me?" She nodded. "And I was right." As they settled into Daniel's house, life began to change. Amaka rested in a bed she never thought she'd sleep in. Kemi found joy in the small garden outside, planting flowers she had never touched before. And Daniel, he felt whole. But something else was growing. Between Daniel and Kemi, a quiet closeness began. It wasn't rushed, wasn't loud, but in the way he looked at her, in the way she laughed at his jokes, something real was blooming. One evening, Daniel sat with Amaka, watching the sunset. "Mama, can I ask you something?" "Of course, my son." What if I told you I want to marry Kemi?" Amaka smiled, her eyes bright. "I was wondering when you'd say it. She's a good girl. She stood by me when the world turned away." Daniel nodded. "I love her. I want her to be part of this family. Forever." "Then follow your heart," Amaka said. "Love is the greatest gift, and you have enough to give." The air was fresh that morning, sweeter than usual, like even the wind knew something special was about to happen. Kemi stood by the window, watching the flowers sway gently in the breeze. Her heart felt light, but there was something she couldn't explain. A feeling, a sense, like her life was about to change forever. Behind her, Amaka walked in slowly, stronger now, dressed in a soft blue wrapper. Her face, once tired and worn, now glowed with peace. "You look far away, my child," Amaka said, smiling. Kemi turned. "Just thinking, Mama. Life. It's strange, isn't it?" Amaka nodded. "Yes, strange but beautiful." In the living room, Daniel paced nervously. His palms were sweaty and he kept checking his watch. Not the old one Amaka had given, but a new one, clean and shining, a symbol of how far he had come. Today was the day. He took a deep breath, picked up the small velvet box, and walked to the garden. Kemi followed Amaka outside, laughing softly at something she said. As they stepped into the garden, Kemi froze. Daniel stood there, surrounded by flowers, a quiet smile on his face. "Kemi," he called gently. She looked at him, confused, then walked slowly. "Yes?" Daniel took her hand. "I've known many days in my life. Some were hard, some were lonely, but none as beautiful as the day I met you." Kemi's eyes widened. "You came into my life when I didn't even know I needed you. You cared for Mama Amaka like she was your own, and in doing that, you became part of my soul." He knelt down. "Kemi, will you marry me?" Silence. Tears filled Kemi's eyes as she covered her mouth, her heart racing. "Yes, Daniel. 1,000 times, yes." He stood, placed the ring on her finger, and held her close. Amaka clapped her hands, laughing, tears running down her cheeks. "God is good! God is good!" The wedding was simple but perfect. In a small church at the edge of the town, surrounded by the people who had seen them grow, Daniel and Kemi became one. Amaka sat at the front, dressed in gold, her head high. She watched them say their vows, watched them exchange rings, and in that moment, her heart was full. What started with a watch ended with a family. At the reception, Daniel stood to speak. "Ladies and gentlemen," he began, holding Kemi's hand, "I want to tell you a story." He told them about the day he met Amaka, the watch, the sacrifice. "She gave me her last, and today I give her my best." The room erupted in applause, but Daniel wasn't done. He turned to Amaka, holding out an envelope. "This is the deed to the house, Mama. In your name. This home will always be yours." Amaka gasped, standing slowly. "My son, you didn't have to." "I did," Daniel said, "because love never forgets." Months passed, and joy filled their home. Amaka tended the garden, smiling every day. Kemi and Daniel worked together, side by side, building a life full of dreams. Then one bright morning, news came. Kemi was expecting. Tears of joy filled Amaka's eyes as she hugged her tightly. A new life, she whispered, a new blessing. And when the child was born, a strong, healthy boy, they named him Hope, because that's what he was, a symbol of everything they had fought for, everything they had lost, and everything they had gained. As they stood together, holding the baby, Amaka looked at Daniel. "You've kept your promise, my son." Daniel smiled. "No, Mama, you did." And in that small home, filled with laughter, love, and the sweet scent of blooming flowers, their story finally found peace. The end.